So this is part 2 of my macrame doll making series where we're going to make our girl doll with our dress here. So the first thing you want to do is get your hot glue gun, get it plugged in so that it can start warming up. And then you're going to want to get your scrap cords that you might have laying around. If you don't have scrap and you're going out and buying, then you want to get at least 2 different colors. So for this one, I'm going to make the girl's dress in a green. Her hair is going to be the natural macrame color, as well as her arms and legs. And then we have a bead again with a larger hole in it to make it easier for threading. This bead is going to become the face for our little doll. So to get started, you're going to want to get 1 piece of macrame that is 80 centimeters, or at least say 24, 25 inches, something along those lines. We're going to be cutting it to the right length anyways, but this is where you want to start. This is going to be the main cord used in the body. So the first thing we want to do is tie a knot at the top where we want to have our loop. So your loop is going to be used for attaching it to, say, a keychain. You might want a smaller loop. Say you want a no loop, we just tie it directly, the hair directly to this piece. So this is your main cord. And on our doll, this main cord is going to be attaching the hair. First, I want to go ahead and tie a knot. I'm thinking this might work well for the hanging loop. So if you want to hang it off a book bag, hang it off a Christmas tree, anything like that, you'll have a loop to do so. From here, we're going to add our hair. So you want to open this up. And you want to cut yourself some macrame hair. I cut at least 10 pieces that are between 6 and 7 inches long. I'm going to need a couple more because that's just not quite enough. So get some more out of your scrap. Give yourself a measurement of 6 or 7 inches. It's approximate because you're going to be cutting the hair anyways. So now you want to add the hair. Let's see how many we have here. The more you have, the thicker the hair is going to be. If you want to have a little bit of a ragdoll approach, you don't want too much hair. But we're going to find the approximate center of this. Bring our knot to the center. And then you're going to tie a knot right here. Give it a good tug. Once you get it on there, you want to pull that really tight. And then you're going to tie it one more time. And give it a nice tight tug. The next part is going to be adding that bead. little easier because these are 2 different lengths, but we're just going to go ahead and add that bead on there. And you can push the bead up as high as possible so that the hair and the loop, there we go. Down here, you're going to want to tie a knot, just one. That's going to kind of sit in there. So now we have our loop at the top, we have our hair here, we have our face, and then we have the makings of the legs, the body and the legs. So the next step is going to be taking the glue gun and gluing all of the hair down and making a hairstyle out of it. You need to decide what kind of hairstyle do you want. I mean, you could really make it as pigtails. But if you look at this one here, I have a couple pieces going around the front, kind of giving it a bangs look and keeping it long. I'm gluing it, but I'm not gluing it all the way. You still want it to have some flowing. So first you need to decide what's the front and what's the back. This I'm going to take as the back. I just like how that knot sits so that this is more forward for the front. So let's start with gluing the back. Just like we did with the boy doll. If you saw that video, it's the same concept. You're just gluing it down a little bit. To kind of cover the back part of the head. You don't need to glue it the whole way down. we're going to be needing to add the arms and add the dress. So for the dress, I was in my scraps and I found this green that I liked quite a bit. And I started cutting them at about 7 to 8 inches. So there's another one, that one's 8 inches. I've got a couple pieces here that are close, but they're a little bit big. To get as many as you possibly can, as close as you can. And then just cut off the excess. And keep going until you have several pieces cut, enough to make the dress. How much is that? I don't know. That's really up to you on how poofy do you want your dress to be. If you want it to be really poofy, you want to use a lot of strands. If you want it to be a little less poofy, you use less strands. I think I have about 12 strands here. So the next thing you're going to need is the dress color in a longer piece. So this piece was just out of my scrap bin, and it's about 24 inches long. Okay, so your next step is to grab a piece of macrame that you have for the arms. So I'm just grabbing a piece of scrap that I have here in my scrap bin. You just want to decide how long you want your arms to be, because they're going to come up and around here. And you can always cut off excess, so let's make it a little bit longer to start with. How much longer? I'm not really sure. This looks like it's about 13 inches total. You're going to take all your dress pieces, you're going to take your arm piece, and then you're going to take your dress belt piece. This is what we need to get started. Okay, so we want to open this up, put the dress in, center it as best as you can, and then put a knot in it. You're going to tie that nice and tight. Okay, just so you can see what's going on there. You can twist the head so that the dress strings come down in the front. See how that's coming down in the front? And then our strands are coming across the sides. Down here, we want to add our arms. So you're just going to go ahead and cross an arm in there and give that another tie. Okay, so it's tied nice and tight. You got an arm for one side, you got an arm for the other side, then you got your body for your feet coming down. So now we're going to go ahead and close off the dress by bringing all the pieces to the front down, leaving the arms out to the sides. Then bring all the dress pieces from the back down. And get all the hair out of the way. Give it a nice tight tug. Here's an arm. Here's an arm. Now we're going to make a gathering knot or a belt loop. So take the end of your string up here, and then you're going to kind of pinch it with your thumb and bring it back up so that you have a loop. And then you're going to take it around her waist and go to the top and then wrap around, and now start wrapping tightly and in a downward motion. So you just wrap it down and around in a tight motion till you get the belt loop to the size that you want it. Once you get it to the size that you want it, you're going to take and put the end of that back through that loop that you made. And you're going to give it a little tug. Now your little tip, we're going to pull on that, and as you see, it's going to start tightening. And then you want to tug on both long pieces at the same time, but pull this one up into the dress a little bit so that the knot is hidden. Okay. Give your strands some tugs. This one we're going to snip off as close to that as possible. Then just give it a little tug to hide it. And then this one we're going to cut to the length of the dress here. And now we have our dress. We have our waist. We just need to add the arms and legs. So to do that, you just decide what the length arms do you want. And I think mine is going to have an arm maybe right about here. Keep the knot loose at first. That'll help you decide where you want it. Okay. Tie it nice and tight. And then give it about 1/4 of an inch gap and cut that off. And then bring your arm down to the other side. Bring your arm down to the other side. Find the matching spot for it. Tie your knot. Bring it up to that spot. Don't tie it too tightly first. You want to try that out and see if that's about where you want it. And I think I want it right about there. Give it a nice tight tug. Give it a 1/4 inch gap and give it a snip. There's your arms. Now we need our feet. So it just depends on how long do you want your legs to be. And is this dress exactly where I want it? You can tell I didn't center it very well, and that's why you have short pieces and long pieces. I kind of like the look of it with it being shorter and longer. But if you give some of these pieces a tug, it'll tighten them down some. There it is. And give some of these shorter pieces a tug. Okay. There we go. So then we're going to tie off the feet. Decide how long you want the feet to be. That looks good. So we'll try to match that a little bit over here. Very close. Then we'll snip off our ends. Okay, and there we have it. A little girl dress doll. They're both different in their own ways. If you think the hair's too long, you can cut it shorter. Kind of like it just like that. So there you have it. Part 2 of making the macrame dolls completed with a dress doll. So what we'll do is we'll add in our little guy dolls. Alright. Very nice.